This is Yerushalmi Orlah, and the article owes an edition with the top of Zayin Ralph, where the article put in a header. I'm not sure what the article does and does not put in a header, but here they put a header of Anochri Shanata, Mamash at the top of the page. In the Vilna, there is no header. It's the first line on Dalet Ralph, Tani Goy Sheherkiv, which is the words in the article also immediately following the header. Okay, so the Gemara says, Tani Goy Sheherkiv Ilan Machal Gabi Ilan Tzrak. You have a non-Jew who grafted a fruit-bearing tree on top of a non-fruit-bearing tree. Even though a Jew is not allowed to do this kind of grafting, this is a Yerushalmi Kalayim Pergab Loch Zayin. You're not allowed to graft into a different type of tree, even if the tree is not what you're grafting is non-fruit bearing. Nevertheless, if this happened, so it's going to chayv Orlah. It's still chayv in Orlah. Okay, so from when do you start counting the Orlah? So the Gemara says a fascinating thing. Bishas netiyosai. From the time you planted the Ilan Tzrak, on which you grafted the Ilan Machal. Okay, so nevertheless, even though the Ilan Tzrak was not fruit-bearing, the clock started ticking when you planted that Ilan Tzrak. Amazing. As the article points out, though, it's really like an Ilan which you planted for a siag, and then you change it to Machal midstream. That you don't count 3 years from the time you change it to Machal. You count 3 years from the time that you planted it. So, and whatever years are left, those years should come Orlah. But you don't go by it's the time when you change the status to go by the original planting. He says that which comes from the time of the planting of the tree and not from the time of the grafting. It's silly by Ilan Tzrak, whose fruit was not considered to be Ma'achol Adam. That's a human consumption. Only through, it only comes, in other words, it's, it requires Machshava to become a non-Ilan Tzrak. Meaning, it's not completely an Ilan Tzrak. It's not as if it doesn't grow any fruit. It grows fruit, which normally wouldn't be Chayim Orlah because it's a inferior fruit. Then you could start counting from the time that it was planted. Okay, because then that's what Gemara says. He says, which so sometimes the carrots and tomato sometimes suitable to eat, sometimes not suitable to eat. So normally, if they weren't designated to eat, it wouldn't be no Orlah. If they're designated to eat, then it becomes Orlah. So he's saying that, okay, since they're shaykh to Orlah already from the beginning, even though they only actually became chayv and Orlah when you grafted, nevertheless, that's enough to start counting from the beginning. Same thing with charuvei kiduda. Avarava. But if you grafted your fruit tree into an arava tree, which has no fruit at all, arava we know has no fruit from the Gadata about the arava and the lulav and sukkahs. So then it's as if it didn't exist till now. And it's not comparable to the Eitz Siog, which was a fruit tree. You just planted for the purpose of Siog, obviously. Here, the clock starts ticking only from the time that you actually grafted on the fruit-bearing branch. He said, no, even a Rava is like a Siog. And therefore, you start counting from the time it was planted as a Rava tree. So the Gemara asks, we learned in Shvius, Perek Beis Mishnah Daled, ain't noting you can't plant, ain't mavrichin, and you can't graft. Mavrichin can't run on the ground like a knee. Just come off the tree and go back in the ground and run it elsewhere to come out as a separate tree. Ain't markivin, you can't graft. Erev Shvius before Shemitah, Pachas Mishloshim of Nei Rosh Hashanah. If it's less than 30 days for Rosh Hashanah, if you did it within 30 days for Rosh Hashanah, you have to uproot it. So the Yerushalmi and Chumash Perek Beis Mishnah Aleph and the Baal Mekin Nun Gimel Beis say that since Yisrael count the years of Orlah from Tishrei, so You have to make sure it counts as an Orlah year before Shemitah, besides the amount of time it takes to get rooted in the ground. And because if not, people are still going to say, oh, it's planted during Shemitah. And they're going to be matir planting during Shemitah. So if it has to take root 30 days for Rosh Hashanah, which 30 days plus the amount of time of Hashrasha, 30 days plus Hashrasha, which is different opinions, whether it's 3 days, 14 days. In any event, Al Daiter Shimon Lakish Patlei Barava Nicha. So, and the second Shimon Lakish who says you it says to about Rava. So then, okay, Markivin 30 days for Rosh Hashanah is a problem because the clock started taking within the 30 days, and people are going to think it was planted during Shemitah. But I feel at Rava, even at Rava, the clock started ticking not from the time when you made the cover, but from much earlier, the time it was planted. What's the issue with Markivin? Everybody knows you can't start counting more than 30 days for Rosh Hashanah. What's the issue? After Lama Yaakov, why does you have to uproot it? Shani Shem Misach B'Shvis. This is a more fascinating answer. It says, because the graft seizes during Shemitah, and therefore it's considered as if it's Melecha Shvis. Fascinating. Veidam Radam. And but which Bryce do we learn that Markiv you start from the time of the Harkava, and we say Markiv Harava, and now like Rabbi Yochanan. Hanotem Abamim for Markiv Shleshim Bnei Rosh Hashanah. So the Tosefta says in Shvius Perik Beis Bryce Beis brought them Bavi Rosh Hashanah Daf Tes that somebody who plants and does have Rocha or Harkava in a manner that it's 30 days of Rosh Hashanah. In other words, it took roots more than 30 days for Rosh Hashanah. Also, Shana Linyan Shana Shlema. It's considered to be a complete year. Those 30 days, and for a purpose of Orlah. Umutakam Shvis, you can leave it around during Shemitah. Pachs Mishleshim, you plant it was less than 30 days till Shemitah begins. The Roshana Loso Roshana Shlema. It's not going to be a complete year of Orlah. Vasel Kaimo V'Shvis, they're not allowed to leave it during Shemitah, which is basically what we just learned. But they said, Peiros Netiya Zu Asurim Al Chamisha Asar Bishvat. They're also also till 2 Bishvat. So that's 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. This is the case where he planted more than 30 days for Rosh Hashanah. So the 30 days for Rosh Hashanah is 1 year. From Rosh Hashanah to next Rosh Hashanah is the 2nd year. Now it should be from the second Rosh Hashanah to the 3rd Rosh Hashanah is the 3rd year. No, but still also till 2 Bishvat. You the 2 years plus 30 days doesn't work. Or 30 plus 2 years. I mean 32 years, and then you have to wait to Bishvat. The only have 2 Bishvat to no longer Orlah. It's learned out in the Yerushalmi Orlah Perek Beis. From a pasuk. Now, according to Shimon Lakish, makes sense to say you have to add on because, okay, even though theoretically you have 30 plus 1 plus 1, nevertheless, it doesn't look good. It looks like it was planted in Rosh Hashanah, so therefore, if you have it so early, so therefore, I'm sorry, it looks like it's too premature. So therefore, you have to extend until 2 B'Shvat. But going to Rabbi Yochanan, if we're being markiv on our Rava, which really existed, we had plenty of extra time which from before, but we could have had plenty of time beforehand. So I should be until 2 B'Shvat. Maybe it's planted already before, right around last Rosh Hashanah. It shouldn't be a blanket halacha. You have to write the 2 B'Shvat. According to Rish Lakish, you go after that cover, which is right now, and looks like it's too quick. Fine, push it off. But according to Yochanan, you go after when it's planted. So the Gemara says, you know what? You have a good point. Tiny Rabbi Yeshua Unya, Rabbi Yeshua Unya says, Leiskan Markiv. According to Rabbi Yochanan, have to take out Markiv here because Markiv would not have to wait that long. Because depending on how it was planted, but assuming it's planted grafted onto a rubber tree, which was planted a long time ago, Yitaka would not have to wait so long. Rabbi Abba Mori, right? Mori said, "Piduk Rabbi Shimon Lakish leis kam markiv." Wait, even Rabbi Shimon Lakish, you gotta take out the word markiv. It's not gonna work because l'shavar. He says if you were markiv on Elon Srak, so then okay, you wait from the time you were markiv. But it sounds like l'chatchila. It sounds like l'chatchila allowing you to be markiv on Elon Srak. How can it possibly be? No, don't allow l'chatchila. It says hanotem hamami for a markiv. So you have to take off markiv. Markiv says that's how you're allowed to do, and therefore it has to be taken away. That girsa has to be taken away. Okay, says more further. You plant in a non-perforated flower pot. It's not mechubel karka. It's still chai b'orla. Yoshi says because the reason is because the tree, because it's about a tree planted flower pot. We're not talking about a bush or a bush could be a tree. We're not talking about a just stem seeds. We're talking about a tree. So the it penetrates, not necessarily physically penetrates, but the roots sucking capacity penetrates the wall of the flower pot and derives moisture from the ground, and therefore it's chayv and orla. Rabbi Yonah Mapik Lishla, he expressed it in a different way. He said, "Kli cheres omer v'nei shloshim." Does a kli cheres stop the roots from deriving nourishment from the ground? So, according to it, sounds like it's only kli cheres. Kli cheres is indeed hollowish. So, therefore, that's the specific in that case. Would it be that we planted about shenim nukuf is chayim orla? Rabbi Yirmiyah boy. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked, not about glass. You planted in the flower pot. You planted a glass. Do we say that the glass, which is not a tree, it's a gourd which grows, it's part of Priyadama, right? Do we say that because the tree roots penetrate, at least to derive nourishment through the perforated flower but non-perforated flower pot, glass also gets piggybacked on them. It's also deriving nourishment from the ground. And even though they're seeds, they're also it's as if they're being yonik from the ground. And there's, of course, going to be many nafkaminas because maybe this one, because it has a tree growing in it, is to be mechubel karka. And the Gemara doesn't answer. Or just like leaves it. Rabbi Yerushalmi said, if you have a tree plant in house, chayv orlah, it's chayv orlah. The labor Yerushalmi is down because it doesn't say sada. It says kisabo el haaretz, include it in its inside house. But patim in maisros. Except maisros, Siva Seta said midaraisa. Siva Seta says kol tvaz aracha hayotzeh sodeh. It's something which is planted in the field. Ushviyit tzricha. By shviyit, we're not sure. The Siva says shav sa'oret shabbos lo Hashem. It says on the one hand shav sa'oret shabbos lo Hashem. It sounds like anywhere in Eretz Yisrael. But on the other hand, it says you should not plant your field nor prune your vineyard. And there it says sada. It's left unresolved. Gemara doesn't leaves it without a resolution. Okay, but that brings us to the top of Chesam Rav. So we will stop here, of course, for today.